Okay, let's dive into what was just an absolutely massive week for women's sports. Seriously, from the snowy peaks of the Paralympics all the way to courts and fields across the globe, week 11 of 2026 gave us some moments we are not going to forget. So let's get into what made it so special. When you look back, it really all boils down to three big themes. We saw record breakers, just these living legends adding to their stories. We saw new stars totally burst onto the scene. And maybe most importantly, we saw this unbreakable spirit that just reminds you why we love sports in the first place. So, what was it about this week? Well, it was like everything was happening at once. You had the eyes of the world on Milano-Cortina for the Paralympics at the exact same time the pro leagues and college seasons were hitting a crucial point. Let's start right there, at the epicenter of all the action. And yeah, the heart of it all was definitely the 2026 Winter Paralympics. I mean, with 665 athletes ready to go, the stage was set for some of the biggest stories of the year, and female athletes were right in the middle of all of it. So, where do we even begin? Let's start with an athlete who is, without a doubt, one of the greatest of all time. You know who I'm talking about, the incredible Oksana Masters. Anytime she competes, you just feel like you're watching history being made. And wow, did she deliver. She took home another gold in the para-biathlon sprint, which is this unbelievably tough combo of cross-country skiing and precision shooting. It just shows her sheer dominance, and honestly, it adds another chapter to a legacy that was already monumental. But while the legends were doing their thing, new stars were absolutely being born. One performance in particular was called a significant breakthrough, and that's the perfect way to describe the arrival of a brand new force in para-snowboarding. Kate Delson grabbing gold in the bank slalom was a massive story. It was seen as a major upset, and it was one of those amazing moments where an athlete just has that breakout performance on the world's biggest stage. A star was born, for sure. But sometimes, victory isn't about what medal you win. The story of Korean skier Choi Sa really captured everyone's attention. She competed with a pretty serious knee injury, and even though she didn't finish on the podium, her incredible determination became one of the most talked about stories of the Games. That is a triumph of spirit, right there. And that kind of individual grit was reflected in some amazing team efforts, too. If we zoom out a little, the cross-country sprint races really put a spotlight on the depth of certain national teams. We saw incredibly strong performances from athletes from the US, Canada, and Ukraine, which just goes to show how powerful their programs are. And you can't talk about the Paralympics without mentioning the women's Super G. This event is just a masterclass in pure courage and skill. We're talking about athletes hitting insane speeds on super technical courses and doing it across 3 different classifications. It was absolutely breathtaking to watch. All right, let's step off the snow for a minute, because while all that was happening, the action was just as fierce on courts, fields, and tracks all over the world. It was a huge week for global sport. Over in the world of tennis, things were really heating up. On one hand, you had the Pro Tour getting intense under the California sun, and at the same time, the collegiate season was hitting that point where conference rivalries are just everything. And there was this great, fun story around the world #1, Aryna Sabalenka. She went into Indian Wells as the favorite, but she also made news for this really sweet moment. After she announced her engagement, fans actually gifted her a wedding veil. It's just a cool reminder of that fun connection athletes have with their supporters. And back in the NCAA, those weekly conference honors are a huge deal. You see players like Mia Mack in the Big Ten or the doubles team of Dookie and Dodick in the Missouri Valley getting recognized. It just highlights that fierce competition that's really the proving ground for the next generation of pros. And it wasn't just tennis, not by a long shot. All across sports, seasons were shifting gears. Track athletes were moving from indoor to outdoor. Soccer leagues were in the middle of preseason, finalizing their rosters. Even in hockey, teams were already looking down that long road to Olympic qualification. It was a total whirlwind. And get this, all of this amazing competition was happening at the same time as Women in Sport Week across Europe. And this is such an important initiative. It's all about celebrating women's participation in sports at every single level and just continuing to highlight the incredible growth we're all seeing. So when you put it all together, the huge Paralympic moments, the action in the pro leagues, the grassroots celebrations, you start to see something more than just a good week of sports. You're seeing a movement that is really, truly picking up speed. And its number right here, it illustrates that perfectly. The 2026 Paralympics had over 79 medal events for women. And that's not just a statistic, right? That's 79 different chances for athletes to inspire people, to compete at the highest level, and to push their sports forward. It's real, tangible proof of progress. Which kind of brings us to the big question. We've seen legends just add to their greatness, we've seen brand new stars being born, and we've seen some of the most inspiring resilience you can imagine. It really feels like we're on the edge of something even bigger. So the question isn't if this momentum is going to continue. It's just, how high can it go?